feels great. I think I'm just like naturally a people pleaser. And so this is an interesting, like, I like this position where I get to make customers happy.
Failure is a great motivator and a great teacher.
A lot of the successful people that I know, the thing that differentiates the ones that are able to succeed versus not is very simply persistence. It's discipline and persistence. I promised them at that moment, I was like, we're going to figure it out. That will never happen to you, like ever.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Startup Anthology. I'm meeting with a friend of mine, Jose Moreno. He is the CEO of Neulight, brand new startup that has just, we're talking since like March.
I started in November, but officially left Netflix in January. We focus on it.
Okay, so we're only 8 months in, so total, officially 8 months in, full time. I'm going to go ahead and let Jose introduce himself, just kind of give his background, just a brief synopsis of who he is. And Jose, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for the invite, first of all. My name is Jose Moreno. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, California. Both of my parents were immigrants from El Salvador. Yeah, it's amazing to see how far we've all come as a family. I went to college at Harvey Mudd College, which is like one of the Claremont schools right outside of LA. And after college, I joined Microsoft, where I worked on large scale distributed systems, Windows Live Profile. So now when you log into like Xbox or Windows, it's basically your same account. You see the same name. And so, dealing with like 500 value customers plus was a great challenge to have right out of college. I think it really prepared me for the rest of my career. And then in 2015, Netflix contacted me. And I saw that as an interesting opportunity, especially where they were at that time, which is basically not fully global yet. And so I decided to join them because I did see a lot of potential on where they would go in like the next 10 years or so. All that's worked out pretty well. And then earlier this year, decided, hey, maybe I should try doing my own thing full time. And so started Neulight, and now we're in it. So yeah.
Oh, awesome. How did you come up? So I guess there was some sort of exploration period where you were going through trying to figure out, hey, I want to do my own thing. I'm tired of working for the man and I want to get out there and do my own thing, be my own boss. What was that iteration process like?
I think at the end of any big project, people tend to kind of like look around and figure out like, what's my next step going to be? My last project at Netflix was a 3-year project, and it was the account sharing initiative. And after having a super successful launch, I basically went into that headspace, like wondering what I wanted to do next. That initiative obviously created a lot of value for Netflix. And I started wondering, well, if I'm going to be creating like this much value, maybe I should do it for myself. I did explore other startups, especially with AI, like really taking off over the last couple of years. I think that it's a great time to join an AI company and see where the space goes in the next 5 to 10 years. It's a bit of a lottery choosing the winner right now. Then I started thinking like, if the majority of my compensation is going to be equity, then why not try to start up a company where a lot of the equity is mine and shared with my co-founders, and then see if we can make something of it. So that's how we started getting into Neulight.
How did you land on Neulight specifically on the initiative of Neulight?
Yeah. I started looking at different sectors and started thinking about like, what skill set do I bring to the table? And something that I've heard constantly from a lot of friends of mine that are teachers or counselors or vice principals is that like education software can really use an upgrade. And so I started thinking that was kind of an interesting opportunity. I know that Silicon Valley tends to not look at education tech a lot, which also made that a bit of an opportunity. And so I had a conversation with my cousin, who's a vice principal for a school in LAUSD. And I just asked her, like, what's your biggest problem day to day? What can I potentially build to help your day be easier? And so she started telling me about this new framework that's focused on student support called MTSS, or multi-tiered system of supports. Basically, the background for the framework is that it's a data-driven framework that's used to provide targeted support for students. Historically, if kids get into a fight, let's say, a lot of times there's a zero tolerance policy, or at least in my high school, there's a zero tolerance policy. for that sort of situation where the kids are immediately suspended or expelled.
Hmm.
And so what MTSS kind of does is it starts to focus on getting away from those exclusionary practices, trying to keep students in the classroom and really just sitting down with them and realizing that there's an entire person behind the actions that were taken. They're trying to get a better understanding of their social skills or emotional skills, providing them with tools on how to deal with those situations, and also mediating between the two students that got into a fight to see if they can come into some sort of solution so that it doesn't happen again in the future.
So it adding context to the person, right? It gives, because when you're in this, I guess, in a school district, like Los Angeles Unified School District, it's probably huge.
Yeah.
The population of each school and teacher to student ratios are probably completely upside down. They're overwhelmed. And so this actually puts context.
All amazing like challenges that just made me feel like this was a great opportunity for us, because ultimately what we're doing is we're building a system called IntelliTier that's personalizing student support using AI and AI's understanding of the framework. So we see that there's a lot of challenges between how much teachers understand the framework today. I think it's still the majority of teachers that would say that they don't understand MTSS, but the benefits are there when MTSS is implemented well. So if we could build a system that helps guide those educators to provide personalized student support, we believe that we can have some pretty positive impact on society.
It's really interesting because I graduated high school in 1999. And so I've been out of the school system for a while, but I have kids in it now. And there's not much difference from whenever I graduated high school in 99. I mean, maybe it's a spreadsheet with grades in it or some sort of, I think they use Blackbaud or whatever those things are. But it's nothing really.
Do you log into some parent software now that helps manage your kids?
We do. Well, actually, I don't know how this feels. We just started a new school year and we're at a new school year in a new school.
Yeah.
They're going to a private Acton-based education. I don't know if you're familiar with that model. Anyways, I don't know how it works yet, but at the previous school they were at, it was very, traditional. And you log in, see the homework, see the grades, and depending on the teacher, there may or may not be stuff in there. Up-to-date stuff.
If they did put in stuff, did you get notified, or like, what was your experience like with the software?
Oh, it was painful. It's just, it was kind of like rudimentary ad hoc. And it was a mix between a front end UI on the phone and Google Classroom. So it kind of meandered through to something. It wasn't fun. My wife dealt with it more than I did. But I didn't like it.
I feel for our educators. I feel for our parents. Like, that story is so common. And for me and Neulight, it just sounds like a great opportunity. And so we're just getting started. Such a big focus of Netflix is to create software that's intuitive, easy to use, and just works. And I'm basically carrying a lot of those principles into Neulight to try to bring some world-class software into education.
That it's definitely, like you said, Silicon Valley. I mean, just startup tech period doesn't really focus on education very much.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take that opportunity.
Of course. I mean, there's a problem now. You're working on the solution. So
yeah.
And it creates there's less of a barrier to enter into that market because there's not really a market. So it's just, let's get into it. So what does Neulight actually do in this IntelliTier? Is it the user experience and interface for the teachers just makes it easier, or is there a teacher parent portal side, or
we're just starting, right? So features have to be kind of limited, and we have an MVP.
Okay.
But we looked into what that process of providing student support in the MTSS framework looks like for students and teachers today, and counselors and administrators. And a lot of it is manual. So teachers have to record some events on pen and paper. And that's if everybody has the good fortune of the fact that they actually did record the information when things happened. And then eventually, if they have questions around like how to move forward with interventions or anything like that, they basically have to go to a student support team. And that requires some scheduling to see when they have time. And then ultimately when they come in there, the teachers are supposed to bring in all the data. Student support team who doesn't know the student has to go through all of this at that moment, right? And try to figure out and provide a complete picture of what's going on with the student. And then ultimately They do some research to try to figure out what interventions they want to apply for those students. And then they just send the teacher back to implement it. And it's not very streamlined, right? And so our hope is to make it as effective as possible. What we're doing with Intelliture is we're providing a platform that allows for teachers to record these social, emotional, and behavioral events in the service directly. Staying true to Netflix, we're making it as easy as possible to do that. And actually, I just had a demo earlier today, and they were like, oh, that's really easy to use. I'm like, perfect. That's exactly what we want. We just want to make it as intuitive as possible so that teachers and everybody actually does record this data. That's really important to try to figure out what's going on with the student.
Okay.
And then we also allow for intervention data and all of that stuff to get recorded there. We're providing collaboration tools so that the different parties that are trying to help out the student can be in communication with each other and so that they don't have to schedule time to meet in person. This also helps the student support team, right? Because they get all of that data ahead of time. They get it in real time. And so they don't have to wait until the appointment to go through like the student's information and then decide what interventions to try out.
Okay.
So that's a big part. Just streamlining the process is a huge value that educators do not have today. And so that is a big focus of ours. Then the second part is using AI to provide intelligent analysis and an understanding of the framework to actually look at that student specifically, get the understanding of the framework, get the context of the school or anything else about the environment, put it all together, and then make suggestions to educators. And if we're able to do this effectively, then a lot of those decisions can potentially move back to the teacher level, as opposed to always having to go to student support team. And the AI, like any other bot out there, it can help answer questions or provide guidance around the MTSS framework. It doesn't necessarily have to be student specific. It could be school context. And of course, we're just going to build out more from there.
How big are student support teams, like at an elementary school level? How big is that team?
You know, what I'm learning is that everything varies between schools and districts. There's no constant. Like sometimes there's a student support team that could be 3, 4 like people that are a little bit more knowledgeable about the framework. Sometimes it's the vice principal.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a third party contractor that they bring in to try to like help guide them with the MTSS.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's just different.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is just observation. Team is subjective in this sense because it could just be one person, and then definitely see how they're overwhelmed with whatever their student population is. And dang. Okay.
The framework is complicated. It's very theoretical in nature. It doesn't prescribe like what to do in certain situations. It's more of guidance to say like, what's going on at home with the kid? Were they getting good grades a few weeks ago? And then now all of a sudden everything's tanked. Has something changed that then got them to be disruptive in the class and like storm out of the classroom or something? And so it's very subjective in terms of the actions to take. And that makes it really hard for educators to decide what interventions are the best ones to move forward with. And that's where the AI should be able to help out.
Okay. With MTSS, where was it developed?
So it started off with a couple initiatives in the early 2000s, late 1900s, which I believe was RTI, which was focused a little bit more on students with special needs. And then the positive behavior interventions and support, which is PBIS, I think came from the like 1990s. Both of these were data-driven frameworks meant to target support for students that might have needed a little bit more focus. Then through some studies, they started seeing some of the value and the benefits that these frameworks were starting to provide. And so RTI and PBIS were combined into like this wider umbrella called MTSS. It's been continuously developed for the last 20 or so years. And implementations at schools has only grown like over that time. I think it's still around half of schools in the United States are really getting into MTSS now.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier that you did a demo today. How has the demos gone? Is there any stories of like things going extremely well, just as predicted, or a horribly wrong? How's that spectrum been?
Yeah. You know, I don't want to over index on it because so far, every time a potential customer has seen the demo, and it's handful. We're talking about handful here.
Yeah.
Not a lot. But so far, every time they've seen the demo, they said that they want to use it. They want to like start moving forward and figure out how to bring it into their school, which is amazing. there has been one school that kind of ghosted us after that, but it was like middle of summer. So we still had to follow up.
They're on
Yeah.
vacation.
I'm learning that people responded in emails or just in general Slack, like
Mm.
at times in the tech industry. That's not necessarily the case in education. There's a little leeway there.
So, okay. And it's different corporate world too. And in fact, I'm going to make a little side note here. I worked for a company that was based in France for a long time.
Yeah.
For a while. And same type of thing in France or in Europe, the month of August, nothing. So you could call, get engineering support, put out a trouble ticket. Nah, no one's going to answer. It's crickets in their office. So I imagine schools are very similar.
Yeah. I'm jealous. Like that shows strong like work-life balance, right?
Yeah.
Me, I can't go 20 minutes without checking my email in case something's popped up. And it was kind of interesting at the beginning of the year because nobody knew about us while we were still building our MVP. And I was still checking my email all the time. It's just been something that's kind of been baked into me for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but I guess going back to your question, the vast majority of demos have gone extremely well. It's us trying to bring that high quality software into this EdTech space is what I attribute it to. But I do have a couple stories. One, our assistant broke and like it worked for one prompt and then it didn't work for the next one. I was like, what's going on? There was a small bug in our system. Basically like the DNS was being cached by our client and left the IP address changed behind the scenes. And either way, we figured that one out.
That's good. That's a quick pucker.
It was actually, it was one of the tougher bugs. The fix was super quick, but like actually finding like where that issue was.
Right.
I changed a few things, like some settings and to try to get it not to cache for very long. But that wasn't working. And so luckily they were very understanding. I promised them at that moment, I was like, we're going to figure this out. That will never happen to you like ever. And so far it hasn't, which is great. And then the other story that I really love is that I was onboarding a school. And so there was multiple users that were going to start like learning how to use IntelliTier so that they can kick it off in their schools. And about 20 minutes before the onboarding session, I decided that I wanted to put in a little bit more redundancy into our system to ensure that like we already had a good amount, but our AI service didn't have it. And I noticed it like 20 minutes before that demo. And I was like, okay, let me like bring up my server to make sure that if something happens to this one, it's still kind of available. And so I brought it to the server and then I tried our assistant on IntelliTier and it did not respond. And I was like, no. And I tried again. Now it's like 10 minutes before the meeting. I'm like, what's going on? And so I started digging into it, apparently scaling up, changed the URL that we were using to point at the service. And so luckily I figured it out in time. I updated our setting, dynamically updated, and then I tried it and it started working. So going into the actual onboarding, everything worked perfectly. But I knew it too. I like from experience, I was like, I should not be changing this 20 minutes before this onboarding session. But
that's, well, I mean, was it, I bet there was a little bit of, oh, cool, I'll fix this real quick. And then there was this dread, like your stomach just hit the floor and, man.
And it was worse because it was supposed to be something that doesn't really change any functionality, right? You're just bringing up an additional instance of the service.
Right. Something simple.
And so there was no real like quick go back to what I had fixed. It was bringing down the service didn't like one of that instance didn't really make sense. And so I had to like figure out what the problem was at that moment. And luckily, was able to do it. And so a lot of the focus, especially now that we do have our MVP is working with onboarding some schools, it now becomes a little bit more of a marketing question. Like, how do we get more people to learn about IntelliTier and Neulight, bring them in and then onboard them as quickly and painlessly as possible so that we're not overly focusing on that part of the process. And so more optimizations there.
How, I mean, your team's not very big right now. I mean, because you just started back in January. How have you been able to only onboard, but actually take survey back on like the user experience? Is it live in that demo or is it like a scheduled meeting after using it for a while? How do you get that feedback?
So still relatively new. The school year is just getting started. So the schools that are
That's true.
using it here are just starting to use it now. Um, I'm giving it, I definitely have like very little patience. I know that about myself where I'm like, here, I'm giving you this new thing. And then just kind of like waiting eagerly for them to respond. I think that's
That's why
some,
you're checking your email all the time.
well, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's why the summer break hit me so hard because it was just like me waiting for months to be like, all right, can we move this forward? What's going on? But as a part of our agreement, we say that from time to time throughout the school year, we'll send out some surveys.
Mhm.
And then towards the end of each semester, we plan to have a meeting with each of our customers to get some feedback. Uh, I've also made it a point for all our initial customers to give them like my personal information. Eventually, other customers are not going to get this. They'll get
Mhm.
like support team. But for right now, I just want to make sure that everything's working and everything's great for you all. So if there's any issues, any concerns, any questions, just like send me an email and we'll basically get back to it immediately. So far, during the onboardings or during the demos, we've gotten like some feedback like, oh, it'd be cool if we can do this or if we can do that. And so that's given us a little bit of a list of things to add in.
Okay. Okay.
While we wait for, I guess, get more of an understanding of how they actually use it in practice.
That'll help with a quicker turnaround too for your patients in the,
Yeah.
and like, I need to get my answers quick. So where I worked previously, we were all about, I mean, in the startup world is all about velocity, right? It's working fast and our iteration time is a lot faster than, the
Yeah.
rest of the world and especially education. And so like we're talking about earlier with the summer break, you want to know, no, no, go, go, go. And then it's
Yeah.
just like full breaks and you have no control over that.
This summer was busy as we were making sure that the MVP was ready for the new school year.
Okay.
But yeah, next summer I think is going to be really interesting to see.
The, the feedback loop was closed though, because it was
Yeah.
summertime. No one could say anything. So,
Yeah. And actually, during one of our first onboardings, the school has a lot of students. And so they were like, we based a lot of searches or search in our platform around name. And they were like, actually, we do a lot of things based off of student ID because there's so many conflicting imps in their student.
mm,
And I was like, okay, got you. We don't have that capability right now, but we'll add it. And then next day, turned it around. Next morning, I sent them an email. Hey, so I heard your feedback. Like, there's a thing that's now available. Here's a
yeah,
little GIF of how it works. And they were like, oh my God, thank you for listening to us. That it's amazing how fast and like you got to turn this around and that it works.
that
Yeah,
feels good, doesn't it?
it does. It feels great. I think, I think I'm just like naturally a people pleaser. And so this is an interesting, like, I like this position where I get
Yeah.
to make customers happy
hmm
and that ends up making me happy. So
Well, speaking of that, it's the making a customer happy, but it's also has a sociological effect on society as well. I mean, it's not just a widget or thing that someone is cool to entertain somebody.
really,
It is actually helping better
yeah,
somebody. So,
that's our hope. I have, given the fact that the framework itself, when it's implemented well, does provide students with benefits, better attendance rates, better grades, better graduation rates. Um,
I got the mouse behind me. I'm sorry. I was trying to looking for it and it's on my screen.
no worries.
I, so there it is. Okay. Sorry.
Um,
Speaking of embarrassing demos.
that's funny.
Yep.
Yeah. So given the fact that the framework itself provides a lot of benefits, I think that helping schools and districts implement it should only increase those benefits. At the very least, allow them to extract the benefits that the framework says that they provide. But I will not celebrate until I actually see the numbers. Like I'm
Okay.
very hopeful. I don't see any reason for why it wouldn't be the case,
hmm
but I want to see those numbers. And then I think that those numbers will become our next selling point. Like, hey, when schools use Intelliture to help manage their student support, these things happen. Like, look how much better students tend to do. And so I'm not going to jump the gun on it. I'm just going to wait and actually see the numbers before championing it.
Yeah, that would be wise. But I know there's also this discernment thing, right? When you're working in and seeing the evidence from the demos and see other things happening. So you kind of get are you familiar with heuristics at all?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so it's kind of like it's our heuristic to kind of make a judgment call on something quickly. And I've noticed that in the startup world or in the high tech world with fast iteration, our heuristic works a little bit faster. And
Yeah.
so that it kind of helps to make those calls. I mean, and then the engineer steps in and says, well, wait a second, give me the evidence before I say it. You know, it's kind of, it's actually a balance.
And you know, that's something that I've loved about Netflix for so long. Like I said, I'm basing a lot of like the Neulight culture and philosophy around what Netflix has achieved. And it's a very successful company. So I have no like issues openly saying that. But Netflix, like if you've noticed, the UI tends to be pretty stable and like slowly changes over time. And the reason for it is that they run everything through A/B tests.
Okay.
They know before rolling something out globally, they know or have a really good idea of how customers are going to react to that thing before they actually put it out there. And so in order to run A/B tests, one, you need a large population. So we're not going to be able to do that. But two, you need to have some patience. You need to have 1 to 3 to 6 months worth of data to actually be able to see how metrics changed to then make a judgment call on whether or not you want to move forward with that change. And so a lot of tests fail.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's fair. But the failure causes learning, right? And that's the thing that I like about failure. Because if you win all the time, do you know why you're winning? You don't necessarily know why. Failure is a great motivator and a great teacher. So speaking of culture that you're developing within Neulight, how did you get introduced to your other founders or the other people within the group? And what's the history there?
Yeah. So our UI person, somebody that I've worked with closely, and I've seen how driven they are, and they're also just like such a positive person. And so I knew that a project that was trying to have a positive impact on society was going to be something that caught their interest. And so I talked to them about it. I know what my weaknesses are. I'm a backend engineer by trade.
Okay.
I guess now on the entrepreneurial side, but UI and design. And if you look at our website, I think the website's pretty, but it's not our best. Like it could be better. And so getting a UI person to join us was absolutely like instrumental in order to make sure that this thing was going to be successful. I would not be able to do the UI myself. And so I knew them, I trusted them. And so gave them kind of a pitch of like what was going on, the momentum that we were seeing. And we've been seeing a lot of momentum since the very start because it just seems like we're solving a problem that has not been solved. And so it's perfect for us. And then my co-founder and CTO is actually one of my best friends from college. I knew him from Harvey Mudd. He was and still is one of the smartest people that I've ever met. He was actually studying engineering at the time. All my friends were engineers. I was the only computer scientist. But,
what kind of engineers?
Electrical and mechanical generally. Okay. I think he, out of college, was working on some satellites for Viasat, if I remember correctly.
Oh, wow.
And then at some point, he just decided that he wanted to go into computer science and went out and grabbed his PhD in machine learning, kind of showing. They all have PhDs also, all these friends of mine. So I don't know what they're doing. He got his PhD in machine learning, and he's been at a startup for the last, I think it's 4 years or so, working on the machine learning side of the world, like inference.
Oh, cool.
And so he was like a natural fit. When I was like first starting up the company and like thinking about all the AI stuff, ChatGPT was out there, the APIs were available, right? So like thinking that I needed an AI person immediately, I contacted him and we ended up speaking for a few hours. Initially it was him being hesitant and then him getting excited. And then all of a sudden it turned into like a brainstorming session. And by the end of it, we're both like we trust each other. We know each other. Like, yeah, let's do this.
That's really cool. Did y'all know each other before Harvey Mudd, or what school actually brought y'all together?
I didn't know him. So the school is like super small. It's only 800 students total. And I didn't know him my entire freshman year.
Oh, wow.
Our class was 200 students. Our freshman class was 200 students. I did not know him freshman year. So he ended up being like my suite mate sophomore year.
So you're talking about the demos, and I want to go into like growth versus clean code base. So how have you been trying to manage get that MVP out there, get it going, but also with the foresight, I guess, in this, making sure that the code base is clean and functional, not just functional, but robust. How's that challenge been?
It hasn't been too hard.
Okay.
Um, but I'll say this, I attribute a lot of it to my experience,
Okay.
uh, especially experience building large scale systems. When I was at Microsoft, a lot of it was me learning like what was necessary in order to have a service that was running like 100 requests per second
Hmm.
and how that worked. And so a lot of focus was learning about the asynchronous natures of programming languages, distributed systems and such, right? So at Microsoft, it's just kind of understanding the languages more. But at Netflix really believes in microservices. And so each team actually
Okay.
manages like somewhere between 3 to 8 microservices within the team itself.
Oh, okay.
And then every once in a while you have to build a new microservice. A lot of times like that large scale demand is still there. And so I basically started seeing a pattern or a model of how to like write the code in order to be able to support these types of scale and like quickness
Hmm.
and reliability. And so at the end of like my 9.5, 9 years, or yeah, I guess 9 years at Netflix, I just have a structure in my mind of how I build my services. And so when I built this service, the backend for this service, it was following that same model. I do want to get into the microservices world as well, into Neulight. So eventually I already see like some splits that can happen with our one backend system that's happening today that can be split up into another
Okay.
couple. But each one of those microservices themselves, that overall pattern is still there.
Okay. So that's cool to see not only the natural split, but because you're there at the beginning and it's your code base, you can see and follow the trajectory of the different services that go along with it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Being a CEO, being the founder of a startup, right now you're wearing everybody's hat.
Yeah.
And so looking to the future, CEOs normally go into more of the fundraising model, and they have to get out of the engineering. They have to get out of this, the day-to-day operations and
Yeah.
more to give that runway to the team. Because the one thing you don't have is time. You can't fundraise for it either. You can fundraise to get cash. So how would you transfer that knowledge to the team as it develops and as you step out of it?
I think something that I'm really realizing is the power of the network that you end up building.
Okay.
So my network is a lot more powerful than I thought it was when I was even leaving Netflix. Just kind of, yeah, it's been great kind of jumping into it. Also, like taking advantage of the Claremont College's network alumni and just learning more from different people and what they've gone through. But to answer your question a little bit more, I can't say that I fully have an answer for it because
Yeah.
it's basically for me, at least everybody that I'm trying to bring in right now, they're people that I trust and people that I know that I can rely on. And this is a bit of a Netflix philosophy, which is provide everybody with the context, make them all yearn for that goal, for that target. The way that Reed used to say it was basically like, if you want to sail the sea, don't tell people how to build a boat. Instead, make them yearn for the ocean. And so if
Hmm.
everybody really wants to get out there, then everybody will figure out like what needs to happen in order to get out there. And so um, that is the type of personality of the employees that will want to continue to hire. But at least at the start, I'm trying to go after people that I trust, people that I know have the skills that I've worked with, right? And I saw them in action
Hmm.
and I know they can just like pick up from where I left off. Um, an interesting decision that I made pretty early on at Neulight is just the programming language that I ended up choosing.
Okay.
So working at Microsoft, everything was in C sharp.
Okay.
And I actually really love C sharp.
Hmm.
I'm mad in C sharp, loved it. The library is super powerful. The asynchronous models of like to make things scale is so much better than what Netflix uses, which is Java,
Okay.
Java with Spring. So when I first started working on the back end, I was like, oh, should I do this in C sharp and get back into that? or should I do it in Java? Ultimately, I ended up deciding to continue forward with Java,
Okay.
um, because I know that the majority of my network now comes from the Netflix world, and they're all Java developers. And so, like, if I
Okay.
were to hire some of them, I would want them to just be able to come in and work on a language that, at the very least, they're used to, but a lot of
Mhm.
people just love it and are a little bit more against C sharp, right? And trying to
Mhm.
get them like make that switch, very doable, but maybe a little harder or introduces a little bit more friction to bring them on board.
Mhm.
Well, and so that's ultimately what we want with Java. But yeah, I guess my answer for that initially is bringing people that you trust, people that
Okay.
you can do the job if you can.
So the other thing I'm learning in this startup anthology as the story of some of these people I talk to is like finding is as you bring in someone that's complementary instead of similar. Because if you don't find someone that's complementary, you're going to both have the same blind spot.
Yeah.
Um, is the team that you have so far, is
Yeah.
your team complementary to you, or is it mainly just
100% complementary. So, like I mentioned earlier, I knew that the first thing that I could not do well
Mhm.
was UI, right? And so bringing
Right?
that UI first, it's me trying to solve that problem of kind of like, okay, how do I then go about this? Andrew is a lot more detail oriented than I am,
Okay.
and so much more organized. When we started talking about the company specifically, like he was just asking things that I hadn't even like thought about thinking about, right? Like I'm
Okay.
like 2 levels away. He was immediately kind of going into all the details. We haven't we're really worked together since college, right? So it's been 15 years. And initially, I think he was asking a lot of questions and he felt like he was asking a lot of questions. I'm like, that's perfect. Like, ask all the questions in the
Mhm.
world. These are things that I'm not like top of my mind, but we need to make sure that we're covering it. Right. And so he is extremely detail oriented. And I know that that is somebody that I need to work with me in order to make this thing successful.
Cool.
Then, so for the next like person that I'm thinking of bringing in, I know that the three of us don't have what I see us missing is design skills. So the UI person can build the UI, but in terms of actually designing the way that it looks and user
Mhm.
experience, different skill set. And so a designer is the UX person is likely who's going to come on next. And then finally, like a marketing person. I'm trying to do the marketing. I'm learning about marketing,
Mhm.
but the social network aspect of it, I just,
It's
I'm not
hard.
super active on social network. I
Yeah.
hate putting up posts, right?
Mhm.
Have to do it. I cannot wait to offload that to like a social network specific person that is able to kind of go out there and have those engagements and really continue our marketing efforts.
It's I understand that one. I don't know how to do it very well. I just, kind of copy and paste something I've seen that, oh, that's interesting. Maybe that'll work. We'll see how it goes up. But it is actually hard to make sure you do all the things for all the different medias to get it all out there at once. And you have to write a different one for LinkedIn versus Instagram, one for,
Yeah.
short format videos on TikTok and YouTube shorts.
What I'm really excited about are a lot of these AI agent solutions that are coming out that it
Mhm.
can potentially take like a post and then you can have it personalize it to each of the social medias and then automatically post it into each one of those, right? And then,
They're struggling a little bit. I tried that because I was like, ooh, I could offload this to
yeah,
this, right? And it's just like, okay, it gets you down, it gets you what, 50% of the way,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is huge, but then you have to tweak it some more.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then our team is small, right? But
yeah.
it's a big focus of ours is to use AI to be the most efficient that we've ever been.
Okay.
I've even like before AI, I'm a super efficient engineer. I can get like a lot of things done. But with the introduction of ChatGPT and these other LLMs, you can do so much more with so much less, right? They're struggling. Those AI agent workflows are struggling, but it's just a start. It's
Yeah.
only gonna get better. It could be a different thing next year and especially the following year. And so I think it's the perfect time to work on a startup.
Yeah. That helps out a lot with don't get me wrong. That 50% is huge because
Yeah.
it gets you halfway there. Right. And so I don't have to get myself all the way there. So from what you've done so far in the 8 months and then with Netflix and Microsoft, what is some of like the biggest advice you would have given to your younger self as you got into the computer science world. What would have you told your younger self that would have helped up until this point?
I mean, coming from the background that I came from, both my parents were not technical at all.
Okay.
And so I was like the pioneer into a lot of, I guess my history, my personal history. Going to Seattle, I was the only one in my family out there, for like 5.5 years. Luckily, my significant other joined me. And so that made it a little bit more bearable. But I think the top thing that I would say is you belong. A lot of people get imposter syndrome. So I had so much imposter syndrome
Yeah.
throughout my career. And it was only, I think, as I got more confident in my skill set relative to the people around, that I got more and more confident and started speaking out more and more. And that's really when I started seeing like my career take off. And there was never a time where like I didn't necessarily have the skill sets to be able to contribute or join the conversation, but I always hold myself back because of that imposter syndrome, because I was nervous to like speak out and think that I'm saying something that sounds dumb.
Mm.
I would just say like speak out, like you belong, you're there, you earned it. Everything that you did in your past got you to that moment. And so take advantage of it and just participate.
That's a good one. Imposter syndrome is very real, but it's good and it's bad. In my experience, I get it all the time. Just my background. I don't have a college degree, but I have a lot of experience and get to work at a startup. But it pushed me harder to make sure to like justify myself and front to everybody. And it like actually was an impetus to work harder.
Yeah. There's the office quote that I really love, which is basically you miss 100% of shots that you don't take. Michael Scott,
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky, right?
Yes.
I would just say like, don't stop yourself from even taking the chance of succeeding. Because if you do that, there's no way you're going to succeed. You already defined your destination for yourself, right?
Right.
But if you at least take the shot, maybe you succeed, maybe you fail. And like you said earlier in the podcast, failure should be looked as a learning experience. Like, cool, you failed, that happened. What can you learn from it? What can you do different? And how do you move forward? It's about getting up. It's not about like whether you fell or not.
Right. 100%. It's how do you get back up and go?
Yeah.
That's the portion of the imposter syndrome that I like, because people are feeling imposter syndrome are perfectionists and they feel like they don't fit the mold quite well. And they're like, cool, let me pick myself up. What do I feel like I'm lacking? And let me buff up on that. And it's really a resiliency type thing, which I think people with imposter syndrome have.
And this is my first startup, right? And I've never even hardly started before. It's Microsoft and Netflix, so two big ass companies.
Yeah.
So you could put that out or cut it.
No. You've been in there.
But really the biggest lesson that I'm learning on this startup so far is the importance of persistence. And yeah, luckily because of my imposter syndrome, like you just kind of keep pushing and make yourself better, right? Which is great because it prepared me for this. But I've already had like customers where they showed interest. We like had a conversation, had a demo, and then because of summer, like they disappeared. I sent them a couple messages and then it was like, oh, now I'm starting to feel like I'm bothering them. Right. And then like, luckily, some advice that I got from other starter friends were like, no, you just got to keep persisting. There's this story of somebody following up the 10th or 11th time. And yeah, you feel like you're being like really annoying. But if you think about their email, it's just like one email that's showing up every once in a while. It's not the end of the world on their side if they just delete it. And then on the 10th or 11th one, they like struck a huge deal and it became huge for their startup. And so after the summer break, sent a message, no response. I was like, okay, school's just starting. Like maybe I'll just give it another. And then the next week's like, hey, just one more. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Like want to meet, let's start working towards bringing it on.
Awesome.
And exactly. And it was just like me from a year ago would never have done that. And it's just something that I'm learning, that persistence is so important. Like, yeah, don't be overly annoying. Don't be overbearing. There's nothing wrong with following up a few more times than I think what you're generally comfortable with.
Right. That's good advice. That's good advice. Who's helping you stay grounded in this time? Do you have a board of advisors, significant other? Who is the person, or what is that relationship like that is like, hey, Jose, you're going too far that way. Come back over here to reality, or go out there and do harder work. You're doing great. I mean,
Yeah.
do you have that or?
I have a, so I have a really great friend that I like play a lot of Fortnite with. That's my like little hobby.
Nice.
Fortnite and golf. Those are my hobbies
Oh,
right now.
golf. Cool, man.
Um, and nothing I do will ever impress him. And so she helps me like stay grounded. Or if I say something ridiculous, he'll just call me out. It's like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm like, cool. And then so it kind of brings me back to earth a little bit. But yeah, I have a lot of supportive people around me. Carol, my significant other, I run everything by her. She's also one of the most intelligent and driven people I've ever met in my life. And so, and she's been so supportive throughout this entire journey.
Awesome.
I think if anything, kind of going back to not holding yourself back, I tend to hold myself back even today,
Mm.
and I should. So I think she does the opposite and kind of just tries to push me forward.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's the exact same thing. It's getting you back. If you pull yourself in too far, like get out there, kick your butt, get out there. Or if you're going way, too big for your britches, and then they pull you back in. And so it's maintain that balance.
I think something that's been super valuable for me is I am okay with being wrong. Not only am I okay with it, I expect it. I don't ever want to assume that I'm the smartest person in any room. Everybody has like their own knowledge to share.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always open to like everybody else's opinions or how they think about this or that. And I think, and going back to kind of like the diversity point that you made earlier, getting all of those different viewpoints allows you to get a better analysis of like the overall problem. And you can make the most informed decision. That doesn't have to come from the CEO or anybody really.
That I have a podcast coming out tomorrow that we talk about. It's called the Hippo effect.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm keeping in mind for myself as I start Startup Anthology. And anyways, Hippo effect is the highest paid person's opinion. And it's when you get too involved. Not only here's like the goal, but here's the steps. You have to do it this way. And then you lose that innovation because no one else is trying to think about it out of it creatively. They're just trying to, okay, now how do I get those steps done?
Exactly.
And so that's just asking those questions and keeping that. I mean, there's going to be a time where you have to put your foot down and say, no, buck stops here. We got to do this. This is the way we're going, but not in every decision.
Yeah. But it's just still being an informed decision, right? It's like,
yeah, well, yes.
Everything can be passionate about like what the decision should be. And then ultimately, the decision maker makes that final decision, but it's the responsibility of the decision maker to make sure that they actually are like taking all those options into account and then saying, all right, cool, we're all moving forward and this is the way that we're going to do it.
What books are you reading right now? What has been helping you along in this journey in the startup world? Because it's different than the tech world.
I'm not a huge book reader,
okay.
But what I do read are a ton of articles, and it's a lot of just kind of what pops up on my feeds. But I'm really enjoying the subreddit for startups.
Okay.
Or you're getting a lot of people that have either succeeded or failed in their startups, sharing their stories, sharing their current problems. And then you get other people in that community kind of like providing guidance, pointing to articles or anything else to kind of like look into a little bit more. And so I read a lot. They're just not books. For me, books tend to be a little bit repetitive. I like things that get to the point and just like, this is the problem. This is like how to think about it or in like these situations. And then that's kind of it.
Do you consume a lot of podcasts as a medium for information or entertainment?
It's articles and doing my own, like kind of digging into a lot of different things. Yeah.
I don't like reading, but I love audiobooks. And so I got like 4 or 5 of them going at once and they're all like 2 times speed. And so it's to prevent that boredom. Yeah.
Or you just kind of like zoom through it. Right. Newsletters. There's a lot of great newsletters out there also. Okay. And now with like ChatGPT, anytime I have like a random question, like how do I go about this marketing like problem? It'll at least like start throwing out some ideas and I could continue to dig into that. And so I go into like a lot of different like little rabbit holes as opposed to really focusing on one.
Okay. Do you have any mentors or specific people that like mentors that help you along to give you those guardrails in life and work?
In life? No. But mentors like, for guidance on how to think about going to market and such. I've had great managers Ritu Goyal, just to call her out, from
Okay.
Netflix. We still like chat every once in a while and kind of point me one way. She pointed me to another EdTech founder. And then it's just having a lot of conversations with a lot of different people.
Mm.
We have had mentors, and one of them was an ex CEO and ex COO. And
Okay.
I mean, and yeah, I met them 2016 or so, so 8 years or so ago.
Okay.
Uh, and what I really noticed about them was how much they were able to like light up the room, just
Mm.
walking like a space. And then like people would either be happy to see them or he would make them like befriend people almost immediately. And so being a natural introvert, I kind of saw this and I just wanted to like figure out like how he was doing it. And I think a lot of it just kind of goes back to just like putting yourself out there and just having conversations. People are pretty friendly. And so there's nothing wrong with just like trying to start up a conversation. It's taken a lot of practice, but now people see me more as an extroverted person. But I'll still say that I'm an introvert.
So where do you get your energy for you personally? Is it by yourself in a quiet area, or is it in the cocktail party,
No,
schmoozing?
it's like by myself in a quiet area. Even before this podcast, it was me just kind of meditating for like a few minutes to
Okay.
prepare
That's
for
fair.
my like, extroverted, spurt of energy.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for, for doing that. Cause I don't know where I am. I'm not an extrovert because I hate strangers and going into rooms and I hate small talk, but
Yeah.
also, I don't necessarily go in a room by myself very often.
I think
So,
everybody hates small talk is like my takeaway. You need a little bit of an introduction, but then it's about trying to find that common ground or like
mm,
common talk about
mhm.
and cover the weather. So I feel like, oh, it's nice. Immediately, like everybody's like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's
I'm going to go stand in the weather because I like that better than talking.
yeah. But generally, if somebody's walking towards our little downtown area over here,
Mhm.
you're like, oh, what are you up to? Or is there an event happening or something? And then they'll just kind of start a conversation. And then, yeah, it becomes a little bit more rewarding for both parties.
How can people connect with you specifically? Is it LinkedIn, personally through email, or?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm pretty addicted to my phone. So in any way that you can send a message to me, I will respond to it.
Okay.
Or more than likely respond to it. LinkedIn is a great one. I don't respond to every message, but I see every message and I read every message. I try to be like a generally friendly and approachable person. Like if somebody's just trying to reach out, asking for advice or like
Mhm.
learn a little bit more about my background, I'm more than happy to talk to
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
Um, I can only wish that I had more mentors like growing up to help guide me. And so I'm more than happy to give back when I can. So Lyft was a great one. You could book some time right now with me on our website by booking a demo, but you can also fill out our contact us form. And then that also gets to me right now as well.
Do you have anything that you want to share? Words of wisdom? Is there anything that you wanted to share at the show?
I mean, my goal right now is to get as many of our educators in front of an Intelliture demo to see if it's interesting to them or not. Right. And you could do that by going to our website, which is neulight.io, and booking a demo with me. But overall, my suggestion for people is just to keep at it. A lot of the successful people that I know, like the thing that differentiates the ones that are able to succeed versus not is very simply persistence. It's discipline and persistence. Like if you keep pushing, you keep learning, and you keep analyzing what you're learning and adjusting and then pushing again, you will eventually like get to what you want to do. It's, but you have to keep doing it. And so I think that's my main focus in life. And then take everything day by day. Rome wasn't built in a day. Like throwing out some of these like sayings.
Yeah.
That's really, I think, the only thing that has kept me sane over these last like 8 months, because especially at the very beginning of a startup where you're not seeing progress,
Mm.
there's so many times where like that question pops into your mind, like, why am I doing this? What, like, is this going to work? Is it going to be successful? But if you just every single day try to figure out like what you can do in order to move your progress a little bit forward towards your goal, you're not going to see that progress over like a few days or a week, maybe even a
Mhm.
month. But now when I look back at what we've done over the last 8 months, it's amazing. Like we've
Mhm.
had so much progress, and you can appreciate it when you look back at it, but you don't appreciate it in the moment. And so just understand that all you have to do is just take it one day at a time, move yourself forward just a little bit. As long as you have a little bit of progress, you're moving towards your goal.
That's some good words. That's some really good words. It's definitely, well, now that you're in the startup world, welcome. It's like dog years. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but you could look at it. It's 6 months is like a year. It's like half or double. And it's really crazy. You're right. It's that persistence. It's that day to day. You don't see those incremental changes.
Yeah.
Week to week, you'll see that step change.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh, that's cool. But then the month to month and like as a project is, milestones hit or anything else like that, you're like, holy crap, I did that.
I did that.
They helped me do that. And this is the team what we were able to put together. It's like,
Yeah. Never be hard on yourself. Everybody deserves breaks, all these things. It's just keep pushing.
Cool. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, even though, tech world is sprints, but it's the company as a whole is a marathon. Well, thank you, Jose. I am so glad y'all reached out. I'm glad I got to meet you and get to talk to you a little bit, to share your adventure, your anthology of startups. It's awesome.
Thank you for the invite. I've really enjoyed myself. I mean, these are some great topics to jump into, and I definitely love talking about it. Doing it in a podcast setting is new to me, but I'm excited to
me too.
To do this. Feel free to invite me in the future.
Okay.
I'll want to come back and share our progress.
That'll be great. Yeah, definitely we'll follow up to see those step changes. This is what's going on.